What's up, my YouTube MS Gym rock stars? How you guys doing? So, welcome to Walking Strong. Today, I just want to talk. I'm going to talk to you a ton about how to walk and what walking means, and how to improve walking. Um, because walking is something that we all need to do. Walking is the essential way that all of us, as human beings, move around and ambulate around and all that kind of stuff. And I can tell you from personal experience with Lyme disease that I've been managing, all that kind of stuff for over 10 years now. That when your ability to walk gets taken from you, or interrupted, or disrupted, or whatever it might be, um, it's troublesome. It is not fun. It is frustrating. It is angering. It is scary. And I just want to let you know, like I tell people in the MS gym all the time, that your body can change, your brain can heal, and you can learn to walk well again. It's going to take some time, because what's happened is that with a neurologic condition, um, those roads between your brain and your hips and your legs and your feet and your spine and all that kind of stuff have gotten disrupted. What's up, Nancy from South Florida? I love South Florida. Um, so when those patterns and those maps get disrupted, it can be very challenging, right? And the body kind of goes into this reactive threat response, and it prevents you from walking well. Okay, which I'm going to explain to you in just a sec. So, for those of you that are just joining, I let people hop on for a little bit longer. My name's Coach Trevor, the founder and creator of the MS Gym. Obviously, if you're here, you've interacted with us somehow. You see me on the interweb somehow, and I'm super fired up that you're here. And if you're watching this recording, I am super grateful that you are watching this as well. Bam, we got Belgium in the house. We got India in the house. This is why I love doing what I do, is because I get to actually speak to people all across the world at this point. So hello, all my international audience. I love you guys, and I'm glad that we can come into your home and help you. So, couple housekeeping things real quick. So when you have if you have questions on what I'm speaking about, I might answer some questions at the end, but I probably am not going to have a ton of time. What I prefer to do is that go after the presentation is done. We got Arizona, we got Canada, Montreal. What up? After the presentation is done, I want you to go in and post your questions under the video. What that does is it allows me to go through and answer all those, and then everybody else can see the question and the answers that we respond to, and people get a lot of help from those comments. So once I'm done, that's when I want you to post your questions below in the comments, and I promise I will come back and answer those. Man, look at all these people: New York, Denmark, Missouri, Maine, Scotland, Boston, Ohio. What's up, John? How you doing, man? All right, you guys, so let's get this party started, all right? So, boom. We want to be walking strong, all right? So that's our goal, is we want to walk strong. And what that means, walking strong, means walking with confidence, walking with strength, walking with balance, walking with energy, walking with little fear, okay? Massachusetts in the house. So that's what we want to get to, is walking strong. We don't want walking to become an activity that you fear, or an activity that you train your brain to feel as if it is a threat. Because if it is a threat, then the brain is not going to want to do it. And when walking is a threat, what will happen is that your brain will start to elicit responses that are protective symptoms, which we'll talk about in a little bit, okay? So we got another person from India. I love it. All right. So here's like 3 typical neuro gait patterns. All right. On the left, we got knee kiss, or genu-valgum. So this is caused when you have overactive adductors, you have weak glutes, you have overactive peroneals, and you have weak, what are called supinators on your ankles. Okay. Super problematic. Typically, knee kiss comes from too much flexor spasticity. okay? Then you go to the middle, right? The middle is foot drop. So with foot drop, oh, we got Croatia, the Netherlands, California. So in the middle, we got foot drop. So foot drop can be caused by a couple of different things. Number one, it can be caused by spasticity or too much activity in the lower leg, in the plantar flexor. So you have too much activity in your calf muscles, in your lower leg muscles, in the plantar flexors, and you have too little activity in your anterior tibialis, or your tibialis anterior, which is the muscle on the front of your shin. Okay. So when we get that drop foot, it's typically because the peripheral nerves are not getting communication from the brain, from the spinal cord, and your body is trying to keep that foot as close to the ground as possible because it is really scary and really threatening for it to lift it off the ground. So knee kiss keeps your feet flat on the floor. Okay. Drop foot keeps your toes flat on the floor because that decreases the amount of time that your foot is off the ground, which decreases the risk in your brain. It decreases the risk of you falling and getting hurt. Okay. Now on the right, you got circumduction gait, or we call it peg leg for all you pirates out there. All right. Now circumduction gait comes from the fact that you have poor hip flexion. Okay, you have poor intrinsic kinetic chain function, which is your diaphragm, your abdominals, your pelvic floor, your spinal stabilizers, your glutes, and your hip flexors. So when your body, again, doesn't like to lift your hip, it tries to keep your leg on the ground as long as possible by scooting it around because it can't go forward. Okay, so just know that I put this slide up so that when you have neurologic gait patterns, it's your body trying to compensate and your body trying to decrease the amount of time that it is in a single leg stance. Okay. So real quick, before we get back to that, I want to talk about your workshop objectives. So what we're here to do today is I want to explain to you how humans walk. Okay. I want to challenge you to think about, or I want to explain to you, how can you train yourself to walk better? I also want to explain the power of neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to change and heal and work around your neurologic symptoms. We're then going to go into a walking exercise demonstration. I'm going to show you some of my favorite walking exercise or exercises that facilitate walking. And then we're going to talk about in the MS Gym, like what we do in there to help you guys walk, because pretty much every single program, all the way from my very first beginner program all the way up to my high mobility programs, there's always a foundation and fundamentals of helping you walk better. Okay? All right. So I want you to really think about, like, what would walking better do for you? Like, think about that right now. Like, what would that do? Okay? So how would your life change if you could walk better? How would it change? Where would you go if you could walk better? Who would you walk with or walk to? Right? What kind of relationships would be fostered if you felt like you could walk better? What freedoms would you regain if you could walk better? How would you feel? Or I'm sorry, what would you do? What activities would you resume? And then how would you feel? Would you feel more confident? Would you feel more able? Would you feel like you had more freedom? All right. So I want you to think about that as we go throughout this workshop, because you have to have a why. Okay. So real quick, you have to have a why. Like, you need to know why you want to heal, why you want to walk better, how that would change your life, because that's what's going to drive your motivation. People always ask me, like, well, how do I get motivated to exercise? You have to have a reason and a have to get better. Just to show up and do exercise, honestly, without an intrinsic value to it, becomes very arduous, becomes very difficult, especially on the days when your body's not cooperating, when your stress levels are high, when you're fatigued, when you just are like, this isn't working, man. Or when you have a flare-up, when you get a setback. Like, your why and your reason and your intrinsic drive to walk again because of how it's going to change your life is going to move you through those rough days. Okay? So just let that marinate as we're talking about this stuff. All right. So how do we change those neuro gait patterns? How do we change peg leg, knee kiss, and foot drop? Through the process of neuroplasticity. Okay. So neuroplasticity, it's a big buzzword right now in the neuro field, the fitness field, the therapy field, like all of it. There's a lot of people talking about neuroplasticity. All right. It's not a new concept, y'all. It's actually been around since 1890. It became more highly studied in the 1900s, 1920s, 1960s in the fields of cognitive behavioral therapy, because people were actually looking at how can the brain change the way that I think, the way that I feel, the way that I perceive, and the way that I move. And then it started gaining a lot of traction in the 1970s and the 1980s. They started studying it on people with disabilities and how the brain actually can reorganize itself, repattern itself, and reteach itself to work around neurologic damage. They saw people with spinal cord injuries getting better, brain injuries getting better, MS getting better, Parkinson's getting better, Lyme disease getting better, all of it getting better. And they're like, why? Like, maybe the brain can actually change itself. And so Norman Deutsch came out with this book in 2007 called How the Brain Changes Itself, right? Or a brain that changes itself. And then he came out with a brain that can heal itself, or a brain that can heal. I got introduced, so this first book came out in 2007. I got introduced to it by a physical therapy buddy in 2008. And I've been working on neuroplastic research since 2008, 2009 on my Parkinson's, on my neuro people, all that. And then I went into PhD level studies into neuroscience, which is what I've been doing since then. And then 9 years later, after I started studying neuroplasticity, after I got Lyme disease, after I used neuroplasticity to heal my body, I started the MS Gym. All right. And we did that through the power of neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity simply is building new roads. So if you look at this diagram, over on the right side of it, you see it's a major highway. Okay. 3 lanes, each direction, lots of cars, high speed, very thick, wide roads. Now, if you look to the left, those are frontage roads. Okay. So frontage roads are built by road engineers, civil engineers, to create alternative pathways to get to the same place that the major highways typically take people. So if there's a problem in the major highway, that the cars have someplace to go, people can still get to their destinations. Now, the brain works in a similar, almost an exactly identical fashion. Your brain was created with major movement highways and also alternative pathways. So when you learn to walk, when you're a little kid, you start to groove and you start to use like the brain selects a highway or a road to start helping you walk. So as you walk and you toddle and you fall and you get up and you walk and you toddle and you fall, and then you start to learn how to walk and skip and bound and run and jog and all that kind of stuff. That highway that goes from your brain to your legs to your feet, all that kind of stuff gets thicker. The neural communication starts moving faster, and the brain starts sending more neurologic signals down those pathways to help you move faster. Now, the problem with neurologic conditions, once you have one of those and it leads to a disruption in this major highway, okay, the highways either get damaged, they get cracked, they go through reconstruction, or they get completely obliterated, okay? The brain has to have another place to send the signal. So what's cool is that through the power of neuroplasticity, if you keep practicing the movement that has been compromised by your neurologic condition, the brain's like, wait a sec, I got frontage road B and C here that are going to allow me to let that leg move. And mind you, I saw someone ask this question. There is neuroplastic alternative pathways in your brain, your brainstem, your cerebellum, and your spinal cord, contrary to some of the people out there on the internet saying that's not true. I have research to prove it. Your spinal cord can neuroplastically change, and it can restore function. I've seen it happen for 20 years. So what happens is that the brain chooses those frontage roads, starts using those frontage roads, starts realizing like, oh, this is a lot more effective. So then it starts to thicken those frontage roads, increase the speed of communication in those frontage roads, increase the amount of myelin that goes around those frontage roads so that those become the major highways. That is how we use neuroplasticity to work around neurologic damage. We choose alternative pathways, or even sometimes create alternative pathways to allow the signal to go from the brain to the body parts that we want to use. So we reorganize the neural networks, we repattern the way that our brain and body function, and we relearn how to move. So neuroplasticity, in a simplistic statement, is changing the behavior of your central nervous system so that it creates specific adaptation to impose demands. What that means is the brain and the body get better at what we ask it to do. Now, lifestyle drives neuroplasticity. So if you all want to improve the way that your body learns, if you want to give your body more neuroplasticity and allow your brain to be more bendy, to be more moldable, to be more teachable, so that the results of your exercise programs can be enhanced, we need to increase the amount of what's called BDNF in your body, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Okay, so why should you care about that? So BDNF helps your brain adapt and learn. BDNF improves all forms of plasticity. And the cool part is that we as humans can control the amount of BDNF that is being secreted in our system, right? So BDNF and neuroplasticity are stimulated by exercise, all right? So you can increase BDNF at any age by moving, which is why I do what I do. You can increase BDNF by improving sleep. And I know some of you don't sleep well. Inside the MS Gym, I have multiple videos out there that talk about how to create a pre-bedtime down-regulatory routine before you go to bed to help upregulate your parasympathetics, which is your rest and recover system, and downregulate your sympathetic fight or flight, which causes your symptoms. You also can increase BDNF by improving your nutrition. So bad fats and high refined sugar leads to compromised BDNF, all right? So you need to eat lean protein. You need to eat fruits and veggies. You need to eat good whole grains, all right? And you need to hydrate. You need to get electrolytes in. Because if you're dehydrated or you're undernourished, your body's going to be like, dude, I don't even have the fuel to learn. I'm just trying to stay alive. So if you're undernourished and you're underhydrated or you're dehydrated and you're in a constant state of inflammation, the body is going to prefer to sit down or lay down all day because it doesn't require that much energy, because your body wants to conserve as much energy as possible. If left to our own devices, the body actually becomes very lazy. So you need to fuel your body well through movement, through nutrition, and through breath work, which we'll talk about in a little bit, in order to start stimulating BDNF and neuroplastic learning. And the last thing is stress. Okay, stress is going to crush you because cortisol inhibits the secretion of BDNF. Cortisol acts against BDNF. So the more stressed out you are, the more depressed you are, the more frustrated you are, the more angry you are, the more bitter you are, the more unforgiving you are, the more punishing you are to your body, the more resentful your heart, the more stress you're going to have. And trust me, I know living with a chronic illness is stressful. It is hard. It is difficult. But you have got to figure out a way to manage your stress, because that allows for neurologic bandwidth to be increased in your brain, which allows your brain to learn better, okay, which is what we want. So as I said before, okay, your body responds and it gets better at what it does, okay? So look at to the left side. This is called the STED principle. So specific adaptation to imposed demands. So if we spend a lot of our time telling our brain that it's important, okay, that it's important, I'm not shouting, you guys, like I get fired up, okay? I get fired up, I get passionate. If it's too loud for you, turn down your volume, because this is how I speak, Okay. I'm energetic, I'm passionate, and this is how I roll. So the specific adaptation to impose demands means that we get better at what we practice. So if we sit down all day, lie down all day, or think that we cannot move, that's what we're going to get better at. If we get up, stand up, fight, stand up for you, right? Right. If we get up, stand up, take steps, try to balance, try to improve the way that we move, the way that we balance, our brain will respond. BDNF will be secreted. Neuroplasticity will be stimulated, and our brain will be like, oh, it's actually really important that we know how to use our feet, that we know how to breathe well, that we know how to activate our balance centers, that we know how to lift our legs. So when we train specifically for what we want to get better at, the brain adapts to that movement or that practice. That the body changes according to what we practice. And we want to train to walk because we want to walk to get better at walking. Okay? So we have to have walking exercises and walking specific exercises incorporated into our program. Otherwise, it is not brain-based. It is not walking specific. It is not neurocentric. You're just, I hate to say this, but sometimes you can be exercising and a lot of your efforts are going to be in vain. You're not going to get the results you want because you're not addressing and you're not approaching your neurologic condition with the right strategy. So let's look at this. All right. So this is the human gait cycle. All right. Okay. Sorry. People get freaked out by my voice. Stop being nervous. Okay. This is how I roll. Still. Say, breathe, hang out. If you're nervous of me talking, you're going to have a really hard time getting better. All right. So relax, giggle, have fun, get in the mix. So anyway, when we look at how humans walk, all right, we're looking at this gait cycle. So as you look at this gait cycle, you can see that we're never really standing like on parallel legs. All right. So why would a majority of our exercises, let me switch this real quick. Why would a majority of our exercises include our feet like this? Like typical squatting, typical lunge, or I'm sorry, hinging. A lot of the machines that you see in the gym, your feet are like this. How many machines do you see that your feet are actually staggered? Okay. If you want to walk better, you got to get your brain better at being in this staggered position. And you also have to get your brain better at transitioning from left foot forward to right foot forward. And that swing phase of the leg in between, your brain needs to be like comfortable and confident doing that. Okay. So take a look at this screen. All right. When we look at this, we see that blue, if you watch the blue leg, it swings forward, it heel strikes, it plants. Then there's the standing phase. Then it starts to lift the heel. Then we bend the knee. Okay. Then we lift the leg. We like lift the foot off the floor, and then it swings forward. Okay. So look at that diagram. You got the stance phase, and then you got the swing phase. Now look over on the slide here. 60% of our walk is in that stance phase. Okay. It's in the phase where you have 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. But 40% of our gait pattern is on one leg as that other leg swings forward. Okay. So as that leg swings forward, that's 40% of your walking. So if your brain feels really unstable on one leg and your vestibular system or your balance centers are not kicking in, then your body's gonna freak out. Your brain is gonna freak out the minute that foot lifts off the ground and swings forward. So that's what we need to train. Okay. So when we look at the muscles that we need to look at, in order for us to do a proper heel strike, we need to work on dorsiflexion, quad strength, and glute strength. Number 2, that support phase. Okay, where the body's being supported, kind of in the middle here. We need to work on quad strength, ankle mobility, and glute medius strength, so we don't fall to the side. When we do the toe off position, which is the 4th and 5th picture in the middle here, we need to work on hamstring strength and plantar flexion because we're pushing with our foot and we're bending that knee to move it forward. Number 4, when we lift our leg, we need to activate hip flexors, hamstrings, and dorsiflexors, the muscles on the front of your shin. Okay. And then the swing phase is where your leg swings forward. You got hip flexion, quads, and dorsiflexion. Okay, so those are the muscles that we need to work. So when we look at this slide, these are the things, these are the neurologic systems that need to be activated in order for us to walk well. Okay, so look at the right side of the screen. On the top, that's your vestibular system. That's your balance center. The middle picture is your intrinsic kinetic chain. And I know it's not a huge picture, but if you look at the muscles in the red, those are all tied to breathing and flexion. So the muscles in your throat, the muscles in your diaphragm, the muscles in your psoas, the muscles in your pelvic floor, the muscles in your abdominals, the muscles in your hip flexors, okay, and your spinal stabilizers. Those have got to be activated because those muscles, that intrinsic kinetic chain, is the motor or the engine of your body, okay? And then the last one down here, this picture here, are all of the kinetic chains. So all of these are what are called myofascial slings. So the fascia of the body connect all the muscles in the body, and the fascia of the body holds all the nerves in the body. So that you got bones, which are the skeletal support or the structural support for your muscles and tendons and ligaments, but then your fascia is the support or the, I guess, the neurologic skeleton. Okay, that is where your nerves are housed. And so these slings down here is where the communication goes from your brain to your feet to help you walk. So if you look at this list, what do we need to train to walk better? It's not just about leg strength, standing on one leg, or just walking more. We need to train the vestibular system. Oops, sorry. We need to train the breathing system. We need to train the gluteal muscles. We need to train the hip flexors, the knee extensors, or the muscles that straighten our leg. Okay, we need to sorry, we need to improve knee flexion, which is bending our knee. We need to work on dorsiflexion, which is lifting our foot. And we need to work on plantar flexors, which is pointing our foot, which you're like, well, I have foot drop. Well, can you control plantar flexion? If you have foot drop, likely not. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, I could come up with an exercise for every one of these, but we don't have 3 hours on this webinar. Okay, unfortunately. Okay, I wish I had 3 hours, but people's attention span is not that long. So in the MS Gym, okay, and what we do inside the MS Gym, every single one of my programs have these muscles in them, already built in. It doesn't matter whether, out of a scale of 1 to 10, it doesn't matter whether your mobility level is a 1 or your mobility level is a 10, where you're like, you're fully working out, you have minimal symptoms. Every single program inside the MS Gym has these elements in there because every single program inside the MS Gym is designed to help human beings walk better as human beings. Bipedal mammals. All right. So we want to restore that function, but we have to do it in a progressive way. And we have to target certain areas of your central nervous system first, because though that central nervous system facilitates movement and motor output in the rest of your body. So there's 3 parts. Okay. There's 3 parts in the brain. You got sensory input, cerebral integration, and motor output. So your body takes in information, it processes that information, and then it creates a motor plan. So we've got to initiate and we've got to get the brain better so that our muscles work the way that we want them to. So how do we do that? Okay. So we are going to work, I'm going to show you 6 exercises. Okay. So this program, if you look at it, is sensory input plus cerebral integration, okay, equals motor output. So we're going to work on ladder breathing, which is going to activate that intrinsic kinetic chain, board rocks, which is going to activate your vestibular system, hip flexion and extension, and these are all in a seated position, up and overs, which is going to work on your dorsiflexion, internal and external ankle mobility, step and leans, which is going to help you improve your balance and your mobility, your walking mobility, and then pause walking. Okay, so that's how we're going to roll. So let me switch to my screen here. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to do a majority of these exercises in a chair because a lot of people watching this are going to be in a chair a lot. However, that does not mean that you cannot do these standing up. If you're someone that's more highly mobile, I would recommend you do these standing up because your brain is going to want to get better at doing things standing up on your feet. Okay. But just know that if you're having a rough day, if you're having a relapse, if you're having a like stressful, like threat bucket kind of week, month, year, doing things seated is very, very effective. Okay. So the number one thing that we have to get going when we walk is breathing. And people are like, why breathing? Well, as I explained before, the muscles in your diaphragm, your psoas, your abs, your pelvic floor, and your spine all drive your walking mechanisms. If you don't breathe well, you won't move well. Okay. So what we're going to do here, because we kind of shift side to side when we walk, we're going to work on teaching you how to breathe independently on both sides of your body through ladder breathing. Okay. So with ladder breathing, you're going to lean to the side. Okay. And if you have an armrest or you're on a walker, you can obviously put your hand on the armrest. Only go down as far as you can to where you feel in control. Now, what you're going to do here is breathe in through your nose for about 3 seconds, and then you're going to breathe out through your mouth for about 6 seconds. When you breathe, I want you to breathe into your rib cage. I want you to try to avoid using your chest. I want you to try to breathe into your ribs. So I'm going to do about 3 breaths on each side. So it looks like this. So I'm sitting up nice and tall, finding my stability. I'm pushing in on my ribs to give myself a tactile cue. And I'm going to breathe in for 3 seconds through my nose. I'm going to hold my breath for just a sec, and then I'm going to breathe out. Which is going to activate my pelvic floor, my abs, and it's going to help stretch out this side of the body, okay? Go ahead and breathe in again. And breathe out for 6. Breathe in for 3. Breathe out for 6. And come back up, okay? All right, switch. All right, again, hand on the ribs. Sit up nice and tall. Try to get relaxed. Go ahead and breathe in through your belly. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Okay, so again, this is activating your intrinsic kinetic chain. Plus, when you do breath work like this, working on that long exhale, it upregulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which decreases your symptoms. And if walking is a threat to you, this is going to help your body feel more stable and confident when you start to practice walking. Okay. Now, the next drill that we're going to do here is a board rock. So we're going to sit up nice and tall. We're going to activate our vestibular system, which is the balance centers of the brain. So I'm going to have your feet about hip width apart. I'm going to have you reach down towards the floor. I want you to sit up as tall as you can. Abs are pulled in gently, blades are down. All I'm going to have you do, either seated or standing, is rock forward and back. Okay. As you rock forward, I want you to stop the momentum using the muscles of your spine. As you rock back, I want you to stop the momentum using the muscles of your abdomen, okay? I want you to keep your belly button gently pulled in the whole time. Keep your spine nice and straight, okay? So we're going to do about 20 of these. Ready? And go. So it's 1, 3. And now I really want you to feel your core stop the momentum. So abs, spine, abs, spine. So abs are stopping the movement, spine is stopping the movement. Abs, spine. Abs, spine. And you're going to feel that ab workout, spine, abs, spine. And if this is really tough for you, you only have to move like an inch or 2.5 centimeters forward and back to get that vestibular response. So you don't have to go super big movements. In fact, it's going to be more beneficial moving smaller and faster than moving bigger and slower, because this is going to help your body feel like it can catch your balance if perchance you take a faulty step or your leg doesn't follow you as quickly as you want it to or something like that. This is a major drill for fall prevention. And 3, 2, and 1. Good, relax, okay? Now we're going to do that to the side, okay? So same jam. Legs are right here, arms are down. Imagine you're in a tube, okay? Sitting up nice and tall, and you're gonna hit the right side of the tube. I might be going opposite just because my camera's backwards, so bear with me. You're gonna go to this side, and then this side is gonna stop you from continuing to go to that side, okay? So you're gonna use this side of your abs, so stop the movement here, stop the movement here using these muscles. So stop the movement, okay? Stop the movement, stop the movement. So stop, 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 stop. This is a major vestibular stimulus right now because your body is having to use your cerebellum that's responsible for accuracy, balance, and coordination to stop this movement. Plus, from a dynamic motor control perspective, you're using the muscles in your diaphragm, your abs, your pelvic floor, your hip flexors right now to prevent you from falling off your chair. So you're activating, again, your intrinsic kinetic chain, which is your motor, your walking motor of your body. So you got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Awesome. Okay. So we worked on breathing. We worked on our brain a little bit for the vestibular system. Now we're going to get into some corrective exercise. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a seated hip flexion. Okay. Now I know some of you have a lot of trouble with hip flexion, and that's okay. I get it. All right. We have a ton of hip flexor drills inside the MS gym as well. This one can be done by a lot of people. Okay. If you can even lift your leg even like that much, okay, we're talking 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters, you can do this drill because we're going to use a resistance band to help us. So what I'm going to have you do is put the resistance band under your leg. You don't have to have a resistance band. You can actually use your hands. You could use a towel. You could use a strap. You could use a belt, whatever it is, but it's going to be your spotter or your assistant. Why I like resistance bands, though, is because they're stretchy, okay? So they're going to actually, the elasticity of this band is going to help us lift our leg up as we try to activate our intrinsic kinetic chain to help us lift our legs. So what we're going to do here is we're going to sit on the edge of our chair, and we're going to lean back. Then I'm going to have you pull up on this band, okay? So I'm going to have you cinch up on it. So pull up, and I want you to hold it right at your chest. Then I'm going to have you lean back. I'm going to have you take an inhale, okay? So breathe in, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, look down at your leg, and then try to pull your leg up and allow that rubber band to pull the leg up with you. Now, try not to heave up on that band. I really want you to hold that band in place, the stretch, and allow you to try to use the core and use your hip flexors to lift that leg with the rubber band as an assistant, okay? Not as the main driver. Okay, so take this slow. Even if you only get an inch off the floor, you're still eliciting neuroplastic change if you are thinking and focusing and intentionally trying to do this, okay? So let's go 5. So we're going to pull up on that band and hold it. Inhale. Exhale, look down and breathe out. Lift the leg. Hold it. Now I'm going to have you breathe in, and then I'm going to have you use your gluteal muscle to push down. So this works both your hip flexor and your glute, which you need for walking, okay? So go ahead and inhale and push down. Now that rubber band is loaded. Now exhale and pull up. Now inhale, use your glute and push down. Exhale, use your hip flexor, pull up. And it gets you a little bit of an arm workout and an isometric stabilizer. So you start sweating a little bit. Inhale, push down. Exhale, pull up. Inhale, push down. Exhale, pull up. Inhale, push down. And relax, okay? Now, when you practice this, I would recommend probably only doing about 5 reps because it's really hard to hold that resistance band. You can also, you don't have to use a big daddy resistance band. You can use a little buddy too if that's easier for you to hold, okay? So try to do about 5 repetitions on each leg. And yes, you want to work both legs, okay? All right, so now moving down the chain. So we've gotten vestibular function, we've got breath function, we've got hip flexor function, we got abdominal contraction, we got spinal extension. Now we're going to work on the feet. So what you're going to do here is you're going to let down like a piece of tape on the floor, something that you're going to move your foot over. Okay. Or actually, let's do this one. So you're going to put a target on the floor, something that's like a strip of tape. You can do a penny. It doesn't even matter. So you're going to put your heel behind that strip of whatever it is. Okay. And what this drill is, it's called up and over. So you're going to start with your foot on the inside of that line. Okay. Then you're going to lift your foot. You're going to move it over and you're going to put it back down. Now, I know some of you are like, yeah, right, dude. What I would recommend, if you can't lift your foot very well, is do this in socks on a hardwood floor so that you can kind of lift up, and then you're going to have very low friction in a socked foot on a hardwood floor. Just slide it across the floor. So even if you kind of lift up and move it over, again, neuroplasticity is going to happen. Another thing that you can do is you can use a strap. Okay, so you can put that strap underneath the foot and do the exact same thing we just did through the hip flexors. You're going to cinch up on that band so that when you go to try to lift your foot, the elastic potential energy of that resistance band is going to lift that foot with you and make it a little easier. Okay, so I'm going to pretend like I'm using this band. We're going to do 10 of these. Okay. So sit up nice and tall, abs are in. What I would recommend is breathing out as you lift your foot up and over, okay? So breathe in and breathe out, lift it up and put it down. Breathe in, lift it up and bring it over. Breathe in, lift it up and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out, lift it up. Breathe in, breathe out, lift it up. Breathe in, breathe out, lift it up. Breathe in, breathe out, lift it up. Just like that. I think that's like 8, but you guys get the idea, okay? So what you want to do is between about 10 and 20 repetitions on both feet. What you're doing here is obviously you're working on your tibialis anterior, your dorsiflexors, but you're also working on medial and lateral movement of the ankle, which moves the bones around in the ankle and stimulates the joint receptors in the ankle, which your ankles have a ton of joint receptor function, so that when you go to stand up and take a step and walk, you have better neurologic communication between your feet, up the nerves of your leg, up your spinal cord, in your brain. So this drill is massively effective. And even if you can't lift your foot very high, just even thinking about unweighting it and sliding it over, even if you have to use your hands to help facilitate that movement, but you're trying as well, neuroplastic change can and will happen, and you will get better. I've seen this over the past 7 years in the MS gym and over 20 plus years in practice now. When people focus, when they believe it, when they're consistent with it, things will change, okay? So once we get the body activated, okay, basically from head to toe, we can now start working on walking, okay? And we're gonna do this through a drill called pause walking. Now, I'm gonna start out showing you guys how to do this on a walker, okay? But just know that you can do this on, you can do this with trekking poles. You can do this with bilateral crutches. You can even do this against the wall if you want to, but it's a little bit more effective if you can actually balance your own body, okay, instead of just hanging on a wall. So pause walking is massively, massively effective. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break down the gait cycle, just like it was on that long chart, into all of its pieces. If the brain gets better at every single stage of walking along the gait cycle, then when you put it all together, the brain's going to feel way less threatened by walking. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to have you just take a step and get comfortable, okay, to where you feel like, okay, I feel comfortable in this step. Then we're going to go in super slow motion, okay? Now, as we do this, I want you to focus on what's called BGB. So I want gentle contraction in your glutes. I want gentle contraction in your abs. So your butts is B, your guts is G, and your blades are pulled down towards the floor to stabilize and give your core stability and strength. Okay, you want to create a nice solid anchor when you move. So find your butts, find your guts, find your blades, get your spine nice and tall. Now watch what I do here. I'm gonna start leaning forward toward that foot. So right as I'm about to lift that foot off the ground, okay, that is where my brain's gonna be like, uh-oh, like this is a problem because I have to lift that foot and step forward. This is kind of like the danger zone. This is the point of no return, okay, the minute that we start to lift that foot. So I want you to get right to the edge, okay? Sing the Lady Gaga song, I'm on the edge of glory, okay? So I'm right on the edge. My glute is locked, my abs are in, my blades are down. Then what I want you to think about is taking your back knee and starting to move it forward, okay? And driving the knee towards your wheelie walker, okay? So driving the knee and step, okay? And then stop, okay? Then you're gonna get settled. So find your butts, find your guts, find your blades again. And then I'm going to have you start leaning. So you're going to lean, 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 stop right at the point of no return. Think about that. You're going to drive that knee forward. I don't want you to think about moving your foot forward. I want you to think about driving the knee forward, which is going to activate the hamstrings and the hip flexors and pull the foot up, okay? So then drive the knee forward and step and stop, okay? Make sure you're nice and tall. If you start to get forward on this, this drill is going to be really, really difficult. So you want to get up taller. So find your glutes, find your abs, find your blades. Again, come forward, step, step, step. I'm right at the point of no return here. My blades are locked. I'm nice and tall. I'm going to start thinking about if I need to wiggle my knee a little bit to get my body thinking knee forward, not foot forward. Drive the knee forward and step, okay? And again, coming forward, lean, 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 lean. My butts are tight, my guts are tight, my blades are good. You do not want to move your leg until you're in a good BGB. Get that knee ready to move and drive the knee forward, okay? And one more time, come forward, lean, 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 stop, find my butt, find my gut, find my blades, get that knee focused and drive that knee forward, okay? So that's how we roll with pause walking. Now, the reason why pause walking works so well, like I said, is that it breaks down the parts of the gait cycle and it allows your body to feel comfortable in each phase before it goes to the next phase, all right? So that's called progressive threat reduction, okay? Now, if we do this on like trekking poles, it's the same deal, okay? Same concept, but we got our arms involved. So if you're using this on trekking poles, you're going to put your right arm and your left leg forward, okay? We always want opposite arm, opposite leg because that's how we walk. We do not walk like a tin man, okay? A lot of people, when they're doing trekking poles, I see them kind of going like this thing where they're going same arm, same leg, and you're totally jacking up your brain. So what you're going to do here is right arm, left leg, lock those shoulder blades down, butt tight, gut tight blades, and it's the same thing, okay? You're going to lean, 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 lean. Then you're going to take your left arm and your right leg and step forward, stop. Find your balance, BGB, okay? Lean, 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 lean. Again, stop. Find your BGB and step forward, stop. Find your balance, find BGB, okay? Lean, 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 stop. Butts, guts, blades, find BGB, and step forward, okay? So you get the idea. So when you focus slower, when you break down the movement, then the brain actually can learn and the brain can actually say, hey, I feel like I can do this without a large amount of threat, a large amount of fear, a large amount of like, oh no, because when the body gets into that oh no threat response, that's when spasticity starts. That's when muscle weakness starts. That's when vertigo starts. That's when poor balance kicks in because all your body wants to do is sit down. Okay? So those are 5 super duper powerful drills that you can use, and how they're set up is in a progressive manner so that your body gets activated in the right sequence, okay? We get breathing going on, which is going to tell your brain, hey man, we're about to move. We get our vestibular system kicked in so that your brain's like, okay, let's get this thing activated as I do these balance or as I do these board rocks so that I can balance better when I walk. Then we're going into hip flexion and extension because we need hip flexion and extension to lift the leg forward and push the body forward. So you swing the leg forward using hip flexion, you propel the body forward using hip extension. Then we're using up and over to create a nice 180-degree stimulus for the ankle and for the feet to activate the joint receptors in the ankles so that the brain gets a better connection to the feet while you walk. Okay. And then lastly, we stand up and we do pause walking, which puts it all together in an integrated fashion. And that's going to help our body learn how to use all the things that we're teaching it in one synergistic pattern. So we teach all the players on the field how to play their position individually, doing the first 4 exercises. Then we put those together and run the play, which is walking, where all of them are running their individual and doing their individual jobs all at one time to move the ball down the field, so to speak. All right. That's how walking works. Okay. So this is only 5 exercises. All right. There's tons that you can do, and there's a ton of sequencing that you can do, but doing this sequence has been really effective for people. I give this to people before they go to walk. I give these to people when they come back from walks. I give this to people before they go to bed. I give this to people when they wake up in the morning because it gets all those walking mechanisms up and moving, and it's really, really effective, all right? For reducing spasticity, upregulating parasympathetics, getting mobility going, getting muscular strength going, improving your confidence so that when you stand up and walk, your brain's like, I feel ready and primed and good to go, okay? Excuse me. So take a look at this slide. I just like to throw testimonials in because they're pretty powerful. Like, so when I first met Melissa, it was at this in-person summit back in 2018, before like the world fell apart. Last in-person summit we had, but we're going to have more coming up next year. Maybe even this year. I don't know. But so Melissa could not walk when we met her. Like, she could barely stand from a wheelchair. She wasn't feeling good. She was super scared. She was super like, I don't know how I'm going to get better. I have a little girl. I have a little boy. I just want to be a good mom. I want to have a second child, but I'm terrified to have a second child. And this is what she said, right? The MS gym literally changed my life. I had poor mobility and nagging symptoms. Like, she couldn't walk, y'all. Like 5 steps maybe. My mobility has improved so much. Okay. My energy is so much better. I was very hesitant about having a second child, but my physical and mental changes since doing the MS gym aided in my decision to have a second child. I'm happy to say that I have a healthy, beautiful young girl, and I'm loving being an active and involved mom with my kids. Thank you, MS Gym. Okay. Now, here's the thing, you guys. Like, she can play soccer now. She can run again. She can get on a bicycle again. She's doing ballet again. All right. She's put in a lot of work. She's been here since like the beginning of the MS Gym, which was like 2017. So 7.5 years. But these are the drills that she still does to this day. Right. So she started out working on this stuff way back 5-6 years ago, but this has become this sequence has become her activation drills before she goes out and plays with her kids, before she goes on a walk with her husband, before she gets on a bike and tries to balance, because it's so darn effective. All right. So this is good stuff. Now, here's the strategy. Okay. And we're almost done here. So if you guys are needed to go, just sit tight for a sec. We're almost done. Okay, so the walking strong strategy is, number 1, train the central nervous system, which we talked about. Number 2, we want to train your body to walk better, so we need to practice walking. Number 3 is we want to drive neuroplasticity using BDNF through exercise, through nutrition, through good sleep, good recovery, and try to manage stress. But when you have a strategic plan, when you have exercises that you know are tried and true, that does decrease your stress level, which will allow neuroplastic change to happen. And then we want to use the RISE method, which is basically what is the MS Gym is built upon, which is rebalancing, integration, strengthening, and endurance. Okay, and that's what we do inside the MS Gym. So you do need the right strategy if you want to get the right results. All right. Now, what we're doing for you guys that have been on this webinar is we want to treat you well. We want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for investing 54 minutes at this point, almost 55 of your Wednesday hanging out with me. So like what we're doing is I want you to check your email. Okay. In the next couple of days, my business partner, Ken, will be sending out some emails telling you guys about a special Walking Strong promo. So this is your best chance to get inside the MS gym for like a really, really good price. Like we want you guys to come in and hang out with us. And I want the opportunity to work with you and train you. When you join the MS gym, you will get complete movement plans that do include everything for walking. All right. This is how I can help you best, is by being in contact with you, knowing what you need, what you struggle with, what you're great at, and being able to assess you and give you the right program. It's going to increase your success joining the membership. It's going to allow you to join a huge community of people that are just like you, that have similar stories that you, that have struggled like you, and that also have found victory that you're looking for. Like there's so many people like Melissa inside our members only corner that can absolutely help you. And we want to give you guys a big discount for that. So go ahead and look in your inbox in the next couple days, along with the link for this recording, and you will, that's what you'll get. So, so number one, I just say thank you. So that's it, you guys. So I got in under an hour, so that's huge for me, because I could go on this. I literally could talk about this for the next 6 hours, and that would probably be half of it. Like there's so much that we can work on. And that's not to say there's so much that I have to work on, but it's all about precision. It's all about, tapping into an expert that knows exactly what lever to pull, what hole to fill, what dial to twist. Like that's what I've done for my entire career. And I want to give you that information. These exercises that we did today are 5 very high payoff, 5 very high neurologically activating drills that will help you when you practice them consistently and with good focus. So there's a ton more I can do. Like if you're on this channel, stay tuned into YouTube. We got a lot of information coming out in the next few weeks. I'm going to continually keep pumping out more and more info because I love you guys. And if you're ready to join the MS Gym, if you're ready to come hang out with us and give me the opportunity to train you so you can get the results that you want, I'll be more than happy to do that. So once I hit end on this live stream, please feel free to put your questions in the comments below. And I'll over the next probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, I'll be in on those comments, when people are watching the replay. And if you're watching this replay, please put in your comments. And I want to get to you. I want to answer your question because we all learn from each other. So I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of you that were on this. I think we're up to like 150 people at this point. I love you. You make my heart sing. You make my life joyful. And I love you guys. I love this community. So keep moving, keep believing, keep having hope, and just know that you can live a life by design and not by diagnosis. So I will see you guys all later. Have an awesome rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.